Welcome back, everybody. This is part 2 of my close reading and reading for rhetorical analysis of Thomas Jefferson's The Declaration of Independence. I believe that we got halfway through the second paragraph last time. Let's see. I think we stopped at Prudence. Okay. So I'm going to read the part that I'm going to analyze, and then we will move on. I'll read through it one time, summarize what I think the gist is, and then we're going to go back and I'm going to break it down and talk about the word choice, syntax, all of that. So here we go. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such a government, and to provide new guards for their future safety. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over the states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. Okay. So there are several things that I noticed going on, but the first thing is that Jefferson is using logos. He's appealing to logic in order to get people to listen to him. And he's basically saying that when you have a government who abuses people in the way that Great Britain's has, and notice that, let's see, how many times is Great Britain mentioned? Once. It's mentioned once. He's using pronouns just like the first video. He's using pronouns to kind of distance his rhetoric from being too accusatory of Great Britain, but at the same time, he is still using very strong language to explain what Great Britain has done. So let's dig into each sentence. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. Okay, so that's your first sentence because this is a semicolon, and a semicolon is a fancy period. Okay. Prudence, in this time period, just so you know, Prudence was a name. A lot of people, especially Puritans, named their children after qualities that, in their opinion, exhibited really good spiritual character, and Prudence was frequently a girl's name. That being said, this is the idea of being prudent or wise, but it is used in a way that indicates, because it will dictate, it will tell us what to do. Prudence will dictate, prudence will command. So it's used in a way that indicates that he's trying to personify prudence, which, again, this would have been especially effective in that time period because a lot of people named their kids Prudence. Okay, here we go. That governments long established. Again, he doesn't say Great Britain. He's just like, governments that have been there for a long time. Long established means it's been a long time since they were established. Should not be changed for light and transient causes. So he is here arguing against, he's already bringing up his counterclaim, which would be, people saying, oh, well, you're breaking away from Great Britain for really small reasons. You need to tough it out. And he's saying prudence, wisdom will tell us that we shouldn't change the government for a light reason, or transient means able or likely to change for reasons that are not big and reasons that we might change our mind about. Okay, so he's saying we have a really good reason to change this. Okay. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer. Okay, more disposed means more likely to, while evils are sufferable. So if they can suffer through the evil, mankind will do it, is what he's saying. They're more likely to suffer through sufferable evil, like as long as it's not going to kill them, than to right themselves. To right themselves means to make everything right by abolishing, getting rid of, the forms to which they are accustomed. So he's saying experience has shown and this is an early spelling of shum, that mankind are more disposed to suffer. We would say mankind is, but plural forms were, up in the air back then. While evils are sufferable, than to right themselves, like to think about putting yourself upright, like you're laying down on the ground and you stand up, then to right themselves, make themselves right, but also to right yourself means to literally stand up. So this is a play on the word right. It's a double entendre for right. By abolishing the forms to which they're accustomed. So we're more likely to suffer what's sufferable than to get rid of the things we're used to. But this transition is very important. He agrees with all of those things. And then he says, but when a long train of abuses and usurpations, to usurp means to take away power that doesn't belong to you. So we've been abused and people have taken power that belongs to us and made it their own power. Again, he hasn't mentioned Great Britain yet, but that's the implication. Pursuing invariably the same object. So he's saying long train of abuses and people taking our power, pursuing the same object invariably means without changing. So Great Britain has been going in the same direction, taking our power for the same reason. And he would imply that it's power and money. Events means to make clear or to show a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right. It is their duty. Okay, so he's saying when you've been abused and your power has been taken in the same way, and it's made clear that you are going to be reduced or like put down or oppressed under despotism, which means like unfair tyrannical rule. It is there, so the people being abused, right? It is their duty. So here he's using parallel structure. He's also, technically this is an aphora, but it's literally parallel structure. It's a type of repetition of the structure of the phrase. It is their right. It is their duty. He's doing this for emphasis. To throw off such a government and to provide new guards for their future security. I love this, throw off such a government, because it's such a strong way to say to get rid of, but it provides great imagery of the people of the colonies, almost as if the government is something heavy on them, that they're pushing it off and it like falls away. So I really love that. I think it's imagery. And to provide new guards for their future security. This doesn't mean like actual people guarding, although that might be one of the things, but it would be like the Constitution, etc., to prevent despotism in the future. And so he's saying, he moves from saying, yes, okay, we shouldn't just throw off governments for like causes. And it's true that most people don't want change, but when it's really, really bad and it's clear that we're being oppressed, it's our right, it's our duty to throw off such a government and provide new guards for our future security. And then he says, so here he's talking about anyone who's been treated like this should throw off this oppression and provide guards for their future security. Then this little dash is really important because this dash signals a transition. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies. So this is where he goes from speaking of the general, like anyone who's being oppressed, to we are those people who are oppressed. This is kind of the punchline or the conclusion of this paragraph. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies. We have been suffering. And such is now the necessity which constrains to force them to alter their former systems of government. So we are being forced by this oppression to alter our system of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries. So throughout history, he's injured us, and usurpations. Again, he's going back to that whole abuses and usurpations. Wow, it's early in the morning, 6:22. Instead of saying the King of Great Britain has been a rude person or a mean person to us, he says the history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, because it goes back up to the point that he made up here, where it says, abuses and usurpations up here. Okay, so he's like, the King of Great Britain fits this, and they all have the direct object to establish his tyranny. And now in our next section, we are going to submit our facts to a candid means truthful, world. All right, that's it for section 2. I will see you in class. Have a great day.